all of you. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakhaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Guru Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna Mataji, Matajis and Prabhujis. First of all, I'm very thankful uh, to all of you for giving me this opportunity to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. And today I'm actually given the chapter 5 of 6th canto. And today we will have to we'll be doing from canto 6, chapter 5, and verses 1 to 14. So this chapter is called Daksha. Actually, Narada Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. And so before going into today's topic, let us have a little briefing about Daksha's story before this incident happened. I'll not go into the whole story, but let us remember what are the important points. So Daksha, in his previous birth, Daksha was a respected Prajapati, the creator of mankind. But he made a serious mistake, that is Vaishnava Aparadh, by insulting Lord Shiva, a great devotee, Vaishnavanam Yathashambho, great devotee of the Lord. So in the Daksha Yajna. So of course, you all know because you are going in a sequence here. So what happened in the Daksha Yajna, all the details are given in the previous chapters. So I'll not be going in depth. So here, after Daksha died, actually, after Daksha, when he was born as a son of Prachetas, who were the 10 sons of King Parchina Barhi, the Prachetas were devoted to Supreme Lord, and they did intense meditation, and they did the chanting of the Lord's names initiated by Lord Shiva, called Rudra Gita, for about 10,000 years under the sea. And after that, they get married, and Daksha was actually born to them. So even though Daksha made a big mistake in his past life, he got a chance to fix it. Because when that incident finishes, Daksha actually prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, called Hamsaguhya prayers. In those, he actually prays to Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore, Lord being merciful, he gives one more chance and then made Daksha the Prajapati in his next life also to finish his unfinished duties. So basically, this chapter actually starts here. Daksha, influenced by material desires, had 10,000 sons with his wife Panchajani. So when we say influenced by material desires, what does this mean? We will go in depth when we get that shloka, and then we will talk more about it. But for now, he was under the influence of Mahamaya. He was not under the influence of Yogamaya, which is the internal energy of the Lord. Rather, he was under the influence of Mahamaya. So influenced by material desires, he had, because he's a Prajapati, because his job is to procreate and then take the lineage further. He had 10,000 sons with his wife Panchajani. These sons are called Haryashvas, and they were told by Daksha to help create more people because they have to take forward the lineage and the universe. I mean, the creation has to go on. So they went to the site of, he was actually, when he told them, they should be able to take this responsibility. So for that, they need to do some spiritual sadhana. So that's why he sent them to the site of holy lake called Narayana Saras, where they were many saintly persons. Usually they practice spirituality. So this Haryashvas began practicing the austerities and penance, and they were doing prayers and doing sadhana. They were actually very serious and sincere, and they were doing the engagements with the high exalted renounced order of life. Basically, in that level, they were doing very sincere. So when Srila Narada Muni saw these boys, that they were very sincere and engaged in such commendable austerities, he understood that they were following their father's order. But then with such open-mindedness and such simplicity and sincerity, they are doing austerities simply for material creation. He thought it's better to release them from this tendency. Narada Muni described to these boys their ultimate goal of life and actually advised them not to become ordinary karmis, to beget children, and again, going through the same process, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, and fall into this material life. Why Narada Muni choose them? Because they were very sincere and they got they had this tendency of being carrying out the orders, instructions, taking the instructions seriously and sincerely carrying it out. And that's why Narada Muni was a great stalwart Vaishnava. When he saw all the sons of Daksha, he gave them knowledge, and finally they became enlightened and they left to the path of spirituality. So Narada Muni is, of course, we know about Narada Muni because we heard so much about him. And that he is very great, revered for his ability to inspire and transform individuals into great devotees of Lord. Whoever encounters with him, they become very great devotees. So we can take many examples like Vyasadeva. Narada Muni instructed Vyasadeva, and now Vyasadeva compiled the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. And Valmiki was a robber who transformed into a sage upon Narada Muni's guidance. He later composed Ramayana. And Dhruva, Narada Muni guided Dhruva, a young prince, in his quest for kingdom greater than his father's. Through meditation and devotion, Dhruva actually achieved a transcendental state and became an eternal star. And Prahlad is one more example. Narada Muni played a significant role in the life of Prahlad. And despite being challenged by his father, this Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad remained steadfast in his devotion and he achieved the highest place in the devotee, as a devotee. So, in this way, Narada Muni's interactions with anyone, we can take anyone, it always, at the end, you can see the wisdom and the guidance that can transform into the individuals through Narada Muni. And they finally become great devotees of the Lord. So here, when Narada Muni saw that there is, potential chance that these boys can become great devotees, and therefore he did try, and he nicely enlightened them. So all of them, they just listening to the instructions of Narada Muni, they became devotees, and they took renunciate order of life. And of course, Daksha, upset about losing his sons, he couldn't do anything much, so he had another 10,000 sons, and these sons were called Shavalashvas for the same purpose of increasing population, because he's a Prajapati, so his job is to make sure that the order of cosmos goes on. And so therefore Narada Muni, again the second time the same thing happens. He sends his children to get the qualified, uh, to become take up the kingdom and then do the same thing. So Narada Muni again saw the sincerity in these children also, and he convinced these sons, the second set of sons, and they also finally took up spiritual life instead of going into the material way. Now this time this made Daksha very angry. So therefore he cursed Narada Muni, saying he could not stay in one place. And Narada Muni, being very patient, accepted the curse without complaint. And this is the um, ability of the devotees of the Lord. They use any kind of situation in the service of the Lord. Enakena prakarena. They use it in the service of the Lord. So he used this curse for preaching purposes, because, of course, the devotees of the Lord are expert in using whatever they have in service. Now the question comes. Actually, we will discuss a little bit and then we can go into the verses, because unless we understand the purpose and understand that way, how the flow of the chapter is going, it is easy to remember. That's what is my idea. So here, why did Daksha ask his sons to make more population rather than helping his sons achieve higher destination or spirituality? Because Daksha, as a Prajapati, lord of creatures, he had specific duties assigned to him by Lord to help populate the universe. So in the Vedic cosmology, creating and maintaining the population was definitely seen as a crucial task for the development of functioning of this world. And Daksha was fulfilling his role and his responsibilities by asking his sons to create more population. So from Daksha's perspective, ensuring the continuity and the growth of population was a significant contribution to the cosmic order. That is his duty. So he was focused on his duty and might have seen it as his primary purpose rather than guiding his sons towards a spiritual enlightenment. So this was the reason why he was actually encouraging them. Well, of course, there are many other duties of Prajapatis also. We will not go in depth of all those, like performing sacrifices, enhancing yagnas. So the Prajapatis are responsible for performing various rituals, yagnas, to please, demigods and maintain harmony, all these, and also upholding dharma. So Prajapatis have duty to uphold dharma. So there are so many other duties also. And not only just humans, but they creation of varied species. Prajapatis create not only humans but also various other species, including animals, plants, and other living entities. So all these details are given in the scriptures. So Prajapatis, in summary, they play a crucial role in creation and maintenance of life in the universe, ensuring that the cosmic order is upheld and life continues to flourish. So this is their job. So that's the reason why he was encouraging his sons to go and have progeny, have children and become eligible for entering into the grahastha. Okay, if this is the case, then is it wrong on Narada's part to disturb Daksha's duty? While it might seem that Narada Muni was interfering with Daksha's duties, but his actions can be understood within a broader context of spiritual priorities and different roles that plays in the universe. So we can actually think about some points. The goal of performing one's swadharma or individual duty or varnashrama dharma, which is like duties to the four varnas and four ashramas, is to ultimately please Lord Hari and attain bhakti. Actually, the swadharma, the duty, is given to us so that while doing our duty, we purify ourselves and then we transform to a level where we do our duty for the sake of Lord to please the Lord. This way, we attain bhakti and finally attain the Lord. That's the whole point of doing duty or swadharma. And we can take the reference in Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna emphasizes the importance of performing one's prescribed duties without attachment to the results and dedicating the fruits of such actions to Him. This way, if we continue, when the doership mentality goes away, what does that lead to? That leads to knowledge. And when knowledge comes in, we will clearly understand the things as is, and then we will know who is the source of all whatever is existing. Thereby, we get connected to the Lord and then take the process of bhakti. So, this is how it is designed. And this practice actually purifies the heart and it helps develop a deep, loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's why in 3.19, the Lord says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam amanusmara yuddhyacha mayarpita manobuddhir mam evaishyasi asamshayam. Arjuna, always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty with, of course, in this case, Arjuna's duty was fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, then you will attain me without doubt. So, by sincerely performing one's duties in accordance with the Varnashrama Dharma and offering the results to Lord Hari, one gradually develops pure devotion, ultimately leading to liberation also, an eternal service to the Supreme Lord. So, here, the higher spiritual duty, Narada Muni is a great Vaishnava whose primary role is to guide souls towards spiritual enlightenment. So, from his perspective, helping the sons of Daksha realize their ultimate purpose beyond material duties was more important. So, spiritual realization is considered, anyway, the highest goal in philosophy, and that's why surpassing even sometimes, surpassing even material duties which hinder the spiritual growth is also okay. Because material duties are swadharma and spiritual duties are parodharma. In fact, the results of performing perfect swadharma finally should lead to parodharma, which is bhakti. When you can directly take up to bhakti, then why not? You don't have to see. If you want to go up to the top of a building, there are two ways you can go. One is you can take the stairs and go, and you can take the elevator and go. If you take up the varnashrama dharma and then all the other yogas, yeah, you can go that way also, but then it will take time. But if you have the option and access to an elevator, which is bhakti yoga, you can directly sit in and take it up. So when you can directly take up bhakti, then why not? That was the intention why Narada Mahamuni, when he saw that these boys are sincere and they are open-minded, he taught them bhakti. So this universe actually operates on the balance between material duties and spiritual enlightenment. So we have to do both. We cannot leave one for the other. But we can start off doing our material duties and finally attain to a state where we start giving importance to spiritual duties more than material. So, while Daksha's role was to ensure population growth, Narada's intervention, served to remain beings of their higher spiritual potential. So, both the roles are essential for, on the whole, for function of cosmos in a way. So, here, when we understand whether Narada did wrong by, going against Daksha's will, while he is looking at the ultimate well-being of the souls, helping them achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So this liberation is considered the highest benefit one can achieve beyond any success, material success, or beyond any material duty. So here, both Daksha and Narada Muni are performing their respective duties as assigned to them. Daksha's focus was on material creation, while Narada's focus was on spiritual liberation. So, in grand scheme, neither can be seen at fault. They represent different aspects of, order, managed, material and spiritual, cosmic order, material and spiritual both. So, their conflict actually, you don't have to, because both of them were doing their duty. So, in that case, don't you think it is wrong on Daksha to curse Narada, if that is the thing? So, if we take this in this perspective from a broader spiritual perspective, it can be seen definitely an inappropriate for Daksha to curse Narada Muni. Why? Because Narada's intentions, if we understand Narada's intentions, were to guide souls towards spiritual enlightenment, which is considered the highest goal in Vedic philosophy. And his actions were based on compassion and the desire to help Daksha's sons achieve liberation from cycle of birth and death. And of course, spiritual freedom. So spiritual advancement involves free will, right? And personal choice to pursue higher path. Did Narada do anything wrong by doing it? Narada Muni actually provided knowledge and guidance. But it was ultimately the choice of the children, Daksha's children, to follow his advice. Because in spiritual advancement or spiritual activity, we never force anyone. We actually give knowledge and guidance, and then we live. Even Lord Krishna didn't force Arjuna, right? Yatha ichchasi tatha kuru, he says. He gives that freedom. So Narada explained knowledge and he gave guidance, but definitely it was ultimately the choice of Daksha's sons to follow his advice. So cursing Narada for offering spiritual guidance is definitely not the right one. So although he was cursed by Daksha, how did he accept it? He accepted it with humility and he demonstrated advanced spiritual consciousness and tolerance. And as a Prajapati, Daksha could have displayed greater tolerance and understanding towards the spiritual goals of his sons. But the curse actually, it shows his attachment to material responsibilities and his frustration at the disruption of his plans. So that's how we understand this. So in Vedic tradition, of course, curses are powerful and they carry very significant consequences. They're typically used as a last resort or in situations of grave misconduct. But here, Narada Mahamuni's exalted status and his intentions were definitely not at that level, and cursing him definitely could have been an overreaction. So in conclusion, what we can say is, while it can be seen, definitely inappropriate for Daksha to curse Narada Muni, understanding his reaction requires recognizing, he was also materially inclined. And so this basically incident, it highlights the complexity of balancing these aspects. Even in our life, we have both going on as a Mahabharat Yuddha in our life. We need to manage both. We have to manage our spiritual duties, we have to manage our material duties. And at times we need to prioritize them also. So many times we fall either in this category of Daksha's level or in the category of Narada level. So what is the lesson to learn here is to plan. Daksha's previous offense, definitely against Lord Shiva, teaches us an important lesson about offenses, aparats, and the need to address not just actions, but also the underlying tendencies. Here are some key points we can actually understand. Offense against a devotee, Bhagavatam actually, why these topics are discussed. Bhagavatam, it gives us a way to live life. It gives us so many examples. And from these examples, we learn how to live, how to be and how not to be, how to take, any decision we take, it should be based on our scriptures. Reason is because we have so many innumerable examples where we can learn from their life. So here, offense against a devotee. If we understand offenses against devotees, especially exalted ones like Lord Shiva, Narada, are very serious in Vaishnavism and can have long-lasting spiritual consequences. And some aparads will go on from life to lifetime also, like in Daksha's case. Daksha insulted Lord Shiva during a yagna, which was grave offense. Even though he repented later, he's like, he atoned. I mean, he has done an atonement for his. He asked for Hamsa Guhya prayers, he prayed Lord, and then he got one more chance. But because the tendency did not go, his underlying attitude and tendency of doing aparadh did not go. So this tendency to make offense is a grave and a very big thing. It's a hindrance in the spiritual progress. So simply atoning for a sin does not eliminate the tendency to commit that sin. And there are so many examples taken, so many the bamboo tree examples, like even though you cut off the tree is it is still there, the roots are still there. Definitely it will again emerge out one day and have leaves, again it flourishes. So these tendencies are like those. These tendencies can remain dormant and resurface when favorable conditions are there. So Daksha's behavior, despite his earlier repentance, Daksha's later curse on Narada Muni shows that the tendency to act out of anger and attachment to material duties still present in him. So then how does this complete transformation can happen? Because it's quite natural that we might commit mistakes, because these things are possible with us also, right? So in fact, actually, true atonement involves not only repenting for specific actions, but also working on transforming our inner attitudes and inner tendencies. And this requires spiritual sadhana, and not only like engaging in sincere devotional practices, and in fact, like seeking the association of saintly persons, devotees, and cultivating humility can help in purifying the heart. Finally, when this purification happens on and on, it can eliminate the negative tendencies of doing aparadhs. So the learning and application is practical lesson is definitely spiritual growth involves addressing both actions and underlying tendencies, not just actions. If we say sorry, we should not like hypothetically say sorry. We should feel and we should not repeat that again, and make sure that our mind is not recollecting the way how we responded before and it uses the same way again. Never. So once we do any wrong or any sin and we feel sorry, we should be actually acting on it. That's why it is very important. So atonement should be accompanied by efforts to purify one's heart and consciousness. This is very, very important, so that it it prevents future offenses. By focusing on our inner transformation, one can prevent the reoccurrence of offenses. This definitely involves being mindful of our thoughts. We should be very carefully when we say conscious living. What is conscious living? Conscious living is assessing ourselves, thinking, what kind of thoughts I'm thinking, what are the words I'm talking, what are the actions I'm doing, and is this aligned with the scriptures, is this aligned with the acharya's instructions? If not, then I have to put back into place again, start off. So this is the way we strive to cultivate positive qualities. So Daksha's story, it definitely shows the importance of not only repenting for offenses, but also working on purifying the underlying tendencies that lead to such actions in future. So going to our verses, verse number 1. So this is the story, and this is the discussion behind these verses. When we take up each verse, we can understand more detail. So verse, how do we do here, Mataji? Like I read the verse and then I do synonyms and purport also, because I've given 14 verses. So can I read for some and skip some? Okay, Mataji, then I'll start.
Mataji,
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, you can read the verse and translation and purport as you
Okay, sure.
plan, Mataji.
So
Thank
word to
you.
word, no need, right, Prabhu?
No need, no.
Okay, thank you. So text number 1. Shri Shukavacha Tasyam Sapanchajanyayam Vai Vishnu Mayopabramhitya Haryashva Samnyam Ayutam putram ajanaya dvibhu. Again, tasyam sa panchajanyam vai Vishnu mayopa brahmita haryashva sanyan ayutam putran ajanaya dvibhu. And the translation goes, Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued, impelled by the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, Prajapati Daksha begot 10,000 sons in the womb of Panchajani or Akshini and Asikni. My dear king, these sons were called the Haryashvas. So, first sloka. Here, the verse is actually describing how Prajapati Daksha, influenced by material energy of Lord Vishnu, he fathered 10,000 sons with his wife Panchajani. And these sons were collectively called Haryashvas. So, if we understand this, there are two types of energies of the Lord, Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Yogamaya, this is a spiritual energy of the Lord, which influences devotees and the spiritual activities, leading one towards liberation, leading one towards the devotion of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Mahamaya, this is the material energy of Lord, which influences individuals towards material attachments and illusions, keeping them bound to the cycle of birth and death. So, influence is actually based on the nature. Depending on one's nature and qualities, a person will be influenced either by Yogamaya or Mahamaya. So, in this context, our Prajapati Daksha's qualities were such that he was influenced by Mahamaya, leading to his actions being driven by material desires and attachments. So, and effects of Yogamaya and Mahamaya. When someone is in Yogamaya, how will be the effects? When someone is in Yogamaya, it enhances devotion. Yogamaya actually deepens one's devotion and it deepens one's attraction towards Lord Krishna, making spiritual practices joyful and natural. And they will have clarity and insight. And it provides spiritual insight and spiritual clarity and clarity of thought, helping individuals understand the true nature of self and supremely. Cheto Darjana Marjanam Bhaumaha Davagni Nidbhavan. This Marjanam continuously happens, and then we can see things as is when the mirror is clear. Similarly, with this clarity and insight, we can see things as is. That way we understand we are not this body, we are soul. And we are soul, we are part and parcel of the Lord. And being part and parcel of the Lord, what is our job? To serve the Lord. So my constitutional position is I am the servitor of the Lord. And my Lord is he is the leader. I mean, he is the owner and I am his servant. So this way, it leads to what? Liberation from basically from the material existence, from the cycle of birth and death. So this is actual freedom. It guides the soul towards the eternal service in association with the Lord. And it gives protections from illusions. It actually shields the devotee from delusions and distractions of material existence. So if someone who is under the influence of Yogamaya, he will have these qualities. Just now we mentioned all these qualities. So he will have increased compassion, humility, selflessness, and service attitude, all these, etc., etc. So many qualities, all good qualities, which come under a person who is under Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Mahamaya, if someone is in Mahamaya, entangles this individuals, a person, whoever is in material pursuit of material desires and sensory pleasures. And it creates illusion that one starts identifying with the body and thinks that I'm everything, this is everything, and whatever relationships I have with this body are everything. And all my material positions, forgetting who I am in the spiritual self. This is one more quality, a person who is in Mahamaya. And it keeps one bound to the cycle of birth and death, because as long as we don't leave this tendency that mine, my body, my relationships, mine, then what happens? It creates desires, and these desires create karmas, and these karmas, the package, on the whole, the package, it transmigrates the soul from one body to another, and this way one can be bound to the cycle of birth and death, experiencing repeated suffering repeated temporary happiness, repeated temporary distress, whatever dualities you can think of in this material which we are seeing day in and day out. And it promotes ignorance of true nature of self because we never understand who we are, always enhancing the ego and pride, and never understand who the supreme is. The moment we think about dasi or dasa, don't want to even think about the word. Why? Because people in Mahamaya influence think I am the Lord. Everyone should work for me. Like there, I am basanu, basanu, basa. The other way it is dasanu, dasanu, dasanu. I am the one. So these are the qualities for a person like one who is in Mahamaya influence, self-centeredness. It encourages these qualities like greed, anger, envy, leading to the conflicts always and dissatisfaction always. So Daksha, the Prajapati Daksha, was influenced by Mahamaya and leading to his attachment to material duties and material pride. It caused him to commit offenses against exalted devotees like Lord Shiva and Narada Mahamuni also. So that's what is the meaning of this shloka. I mean, when we said that he is under the influence of Mahamaya, he is working. So that's what it is. Number 2. अप्रथग्धर्मशिलास्ते सर्वदाक्षायणा नृपा पितृप्रोक्ता प्रजा सर्गे प्रचीतिं प्रययुर्दिशम्. Again, अप्रथग्धर्मशिलास्ते सर्वदक्षायणा नृपा पितृप्रोक्ता प्रजा सर्गे prateechim prayayurdisham. The translation goes, my dear king, all the sons of Prajapati Daksha were alike in being very gentle and obedient to the orders of their father. When their father ordered them to beget children, they all went in the western direction. So, second shloka, nothing much to explain here. Like he's saying, my dear king, all sons of Prajapati Daksha were alike in being very gentle and obedient to the orders of their father. When their father ordered them to beget children, they all went in west direction. So this verse basically tells us that the sons of Prajapati Daksha were very gentle. They were very obedient. When their father asked them to like do a thing or duty, here in this case, like he asked them to have children or enter into Grihastha ashrama, they all went, obeyed him, and they actually went to west direction west to carry out his instructions. So basically, they are very open-minded and very humble, and they are like, listen to the obedient to the orders of their father. This is what is their temperament. Number 3. Tatra Narayana Saras Tirtham Sindhu Samudrayo Sangamo Yatra Sumuhan Munisiddha Nishevitam. The translation goes, in the west, where the river Sindhu meets the sea, there is a great place of pilgrimage known as Narayana Saras. Many sages and others advanced in spiritual consciousness live there. So here, in this shloka, the Narayana Saras is being explained. So this is like, basically it also talks about the specific location in the west direction where the river Sindhu or the Indus River, like today it is called Indus, flows into the Arabian Sea. So this is a great place of pilgrimage known as Narayana Saras. And so, of course, this is a sacred place of pilgrimage. And Saras often refers to the lake or body of water. And Narayana is the name of the Lord Vishnu, indicating the sanctity of the place. And this place is like, very pious, very pure. Many sages and others advanced in the spiritual consciousness, they lived there. Actually, Narayana Saras, like, we, when we read the third canto and others, like it's been always a spiritual place and always like, had like so advanced, many people, individuals who have advanced in the spiritual practices, they actually lived here, inhabited by many sages. So even Narada Muni, the devotee of the Lord, great stalwart devotee of the Lord, he many times visits this Narayana Saras, and his devotion and constant singing of Lord's glories have sanctified this place. And when we read about Kardama Muni, even Kardama Muni, a great sage and a devotee of the Lord, he performed intense penance and devotion at Narayana Saras. And his devotion attracted Lord, who blessed him with his divine presence and granted his wishes. So this also happened near Narayana Saras. Devahuti, wife of Kadava Muni and mother of Kapila Muni, also engaged in devotion and penance at this Narayana Saras. And Kapila Muni, of course, the incarnation of the Lord Vishnu, and he is the proponent of Sankhya philosophy. He performed his spiritual activities and teachings at this Narayana Saras. And so these devotees basically they exemplify the profound spiritual significance of this Narayana Saras. Having performed their bhakti and spiritual practices there, these are some examples which I have taken, but there are so many others or munis, great devotees who actually live in that place and who revert this pilgrimage site. So, in essence, what we can understand is this verse is actually describing the sacred pilgrimage site called Narayana Saras, and it's in the western region where the river Sindhu meets the sea. And here, many spiritually advanced sages resided. And that's why it carries that vibrations, and that place is so pure. And when Daksha's sons went there, they could, take the purity which is there, and then they also advance. We'll see that in the next shloka. 4-5. Tad upasparshanad eva vinirduta malashaya dharme paramahamsya cha प्रोत्पन्ना मतयोऽप्यता ते पीरे तप एवोग्रं पित्रादेश देशेन यन्त्रिता प्रजा विवृद्धाये यत्थान् देवर्षेस्तान् ददर्शसः. Again, tad upasparshanad eva vinirduta malashaya dharme paramahamsye cha protpanna matayopyuta te pire tapa evogram pitradeshena yantrita praja vivruddhaye yettan devarshe standadarshaha. Translation goes, in that holy place, the Haryashvas began regularly touching the lake's waters and bathing in them, gradually becoming much purified. They became inclined toward the activities of Paramahamsas. Nevertheless, because their father had ordered them to increase the population, they performed severe austerities to fulfill his desires. One day, when the great sage Narada saw these boys performing such fine austerities to increase the population, Narada approached them. So here, in that holy place, the Haryashvas began regularly touching the lake's waters and bathing in them, gradually becoming very much purified. They became inclined toward the activities of Paramahamsas. Nevertheless, because their father has ordered them to increase the population, they performed severe austerities. I'm again reading the translation in an easy way, but yeah, so the explanation what we can give to this is basically this place is pure because it was connected with great devotees in past. So, and this is like, of course, so many munis come and stay there. So it's connected with the great devotees always. So when devotion or bhakti is practiced in a place, what does it do? It creates a positive spiritual vibrations, making the place itself spiritually powerful and spiritually conducive for performing bhakti. So that's why when we visit the great dhams like Vrindavan, Puri, Jagannath Puri, and all the so many places, Badrinath, Kedarnath, so many places. These places, why they have this spiritual atmosphere? Because these places have spiritual vibrations because of the devotion practiced there by great devotees who often visit that place or who lived there. The presence and the prayers of these devotees actually fill the place with positive spiritual energy, making it easier for others to connect with the Lord or with the divine and feel a sense of peace and devotion. So that's why it refers to a sacred pilgrimage site before describing. So Narayana Saras, where the Haryashvas had gone, the Haryashvas began regularly touching the lake's waters and bathing in them. So Haryashvas basically started to purify themselves by regularly touching water of the lake, taking bath in them. So bathing in sacred waters is generally common practices in spiritual traditions. And these sacred rivers and lakes and the other water bodies, which we often find in these pilgrimages or pure places, They are often considered to be blessed by these divine entities or devotees who come there and bathe in these waters. And it, like, when bathing in these waters, it's seen as receiving their blessings. So, therefore, even these rivers in those places are like, as if they have the blessings because they have the dust of all these great saints who take bath in them. And therefore, they carry this spiritual atmosphere. And Haryashvas gradually, like when they were taking bath in it, they were gradually becoming purified because they were associating with these vibrations and with these, uh, atmosphere where the devotees have left it. They became inclined towards the activities of Paramahamsas. So, by regularly performing these purifying activities, the Haryashvas became very pure. As a result, they developed an inclination for this, just like how Paramahamsas do. So, because actually, despite their spiritual inclinations, the Hayashvas actually remembered their father's instructions. Father's instructions was what? To increase the population. So they performed these severe austerities to fulfill his wishes. See, on the day when great sage Narada saw these boys performing such austerities to increase population, Narada actually approached them, understanding their greatness and seeing the ultimate reason why they are doing what they are doing. He felt actually that they should be corrected. So, observing these Haryashva's austerities, Narada Muni approached them, and Narada's intention is further revealed in the next subsequent verses. So, we'll see. So, the takeaway point from here is it is definitely talking about the place and the spiritual inclinations the place is equipped with, and the water bodies, like how great the atmosphere is spiritually, and because these boys were living there, like getting in touch with this environment there, they were also surcharged with the devotion which was prevailing in that atmosphere. And added to that, Narada's arrival marks a significant turning point in their spiritual journey. 6 to 8. उवाच चातः हर्याश्व कथं स्रक्ष्याथ वै प्रजा अदृष्टवान् तं भुवो यूयं बालिशाबतपालका तथैकपुरुषं राष्ट्रं बिलं चादृष्ट निग्रमं बहुरूपं स्त्रियं चापि पुमांसं पुंश्चलिपतिम् नदीम् उभयतो वाहं पञ्चाद्भुतं गृहं क्वचिद्ध्वंसं चित्रकथं क्षौरपव्यां स्वयं भ्रमीम् अगेन् उवाच चातहर्ष्या स्व कथं स्रक्ष्यात वै प्रजा अदृष्टवान् तं भुवो यूयं बालिशाबतपालका तथैकपुरुषं राष्ट्रं बिलं चादृष्ट निग्रमं बहुरूपं स्त्रियं चापि पुमांसं पुंश्चलिपतिम् नदीम् उभयतो वाहं पञ्चाद्भुतं गृहं क्वचिद्धंसं चित्रकथं क्षौरपव्यं स्वयं भ्रमी. The translation goes, the great sage Narada said, my dear Haryashvas, you have not seen the extremities of the earth. There is a kingdom where only one man lives, and where there is a hole from which, having entered, no one emerges. A woman there who is extremely unchaste adorns herself with various attractive dresses, and the man who lives there is her husband. In that kingdom, there is a river flowing in both directions, a wonderful home made of 25 elements, a swan that vibrates various sounds, an automatically revolving object made of sharp razors and thunderbolts. You have not seen all this, and therefore you are inexperienced boys without advanced knowledge. How then will you create progeny? This is the verse, actually 6 to 8. So here basically, Narada Muni is speaking to the Haryashvas, and he is actually addressing Haryashvas affectionately and noting that they have not explored the full extent of the earth. So when he's actually, this is a kind of allegory where he's explaining that you have not seen the extremities of Bhuvo is earth. And he is actually saying like, there is a kingdom where only one man lives. So here basically is referring that to Supreme Lord. So uh, instead of directly going into the matter, Narad Muni is very intelligently explaining them, like taking a uh, allegory. So here, so that's why like he's saying the kingdom where only one man lives. That's like, where he's talking about the Supreme Lord. Because in this universe, they only enjoy the Supreme Lord and who is transcendental. And that's why he's saying one man. And when he said the whole from which having entered no one emerges, basically he's referring to the Vaikuntha. Upon reaching them, one never returns to this world. So when he's talking about the unchaste, person or woman, he is basically talking about the jiva's unsteady intelligence. So in the book, actually, so the husband of the prostitute, the jiva with unsteady intelligence, loses his power of independence and prolongs his materialistic life. And the river, which is flowing in both directions, flowing swiftly near the banks, here he is referring to Maya or the material nature, which is functions in two directions or two ways. What are the two ways? Creation and dissolution. And when he's saying the house made up of 25 elements and Panchadbhutam Graham, basically he's talking about this, the Supreme Lord is the reservoir of the 25 elements and he controls them and causes their manifestations. That's what he's referring to. And when he's saying that the speaking swan is that vibrates various sounds, he's talking about the Shastras or the persons that describe the Lord, the great people actually. And so when he's talking about the automatically revolving object made of sharp razors, he's referring to eternal time. So how will you procreate without omniscient father? So this is the instructions of Shastras again. So yeah, understanding these words. So here basically Narada is a wise sage and is speaking to Haryashvas. You have not seen the extremities of the earth, he's saying. So he's addressing them affectionately and noting that they have not explored the full extent of it. And there is a kingdom where there is only one man who lives, and there is a hole from which, having entered, no one emerges. Narada describes a mysterious kingdom where only one man lives and where there is a hole or cave from which no one returns once they enter. This is likely a metaphorical or a symbolic description of what is happening here. So here, the woman there who is extremely unchaste adorns herself with various attractive dresses. He is talking about the jiva. And the man who lives there is the her husband. So jiva basically. So in this kingdom, there is a woman who is extremely unfaithful. And the man who lives is the husband. So in that kingdom, the river is flowing in both directions. So a wonderful home made of 25 elements or materials, a swan that vibrates various sounds, automatically revolving object made of sharp razors, time. So Narada basically he's describing various fantastical and impossible features of this kingdom. And he's emphasizing its mysterious and illusory nature too. He's explaining all. So you have not seen all this, is saying finally, and therefore you are inexperienced boys without advanced knowledge. Then he's saying, how then will you, create progeny? So here Narada implies that because Aryashvas have not experienced such extreme and illusory situations, they lack the wisdom and they lack the experience necessary to fulfill their father's order to procreate. So Narada is using these descriptions to create or illustrate this illusory nature of the world life to them in a this way, like symbolically, and then to encourage these boys to focus on spiritual realizations rather than entangling them in the worldly affairs. So he's basically explaining to say that this is not easy, this is definitely tough. In our when our words, we can say that this is definitely not easy. So this way he is enlightening them. Number 9. Katam swapitur adesham avidvamso vipaschita anurupam avignaya aho sargam karishyatha. The translation goes, alas, your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create progeny? So here, this expresses a feeling of sorrow or a kind of pity. Your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. So here Narada is remarking that Ayashva's father Prajapati Daksha is all-knowing, omniscient. But despite his being omniscient, you seem to be unaware of his true intentions or instructions. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create? He's saying. So here he is actually pointing out the importance of understanding the deeper meaning behind their father's instructions before carrying them out. So especially in matters as this significant, especially in procreations. Narada is saying, Narada's words can be seen as gentle guiding the Harishvas to look beyond the immediate material concerns their father may have and consider deeper spiritual aspects of life and duty. So basically, he's saying your father has indirectly told you that this material world is definitely not an easy place. Understand his intention and go beyond it. So just don't bluntly understand like what he's saying. In his instruction, he has a deeper meaning. That deeper meaning, it underscores the idea that the understanding the spiritual purpose behind actions can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life, even when dealing with the worldly responsibilities. So this is what he's saying. In his, giving instruction, there is so much meaning. Understand that. Number 10. Srishukavacha Tannisham yatha haryashva Outpatika manishaya Vachah kutam tu devarshe Sayam vimarshuruddhiya. Again, Sri Shukavacha. Tannisham yatha haryashva Outpatika manishaya Vachah kutam tu devarshe Sayam vimarmarshurdhiya. The translation goes, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, hearing these enigmatic words of Narada Muni, the Haryashvas considered them with their natural intelligence without help from others. So here, Sukadeva Goswami said, the narrator of the story, basically he's saying, the Haryashvas listened to the puzzling words spoken by Narada, and they considered them with their natural intelligence without the help from others. So what is this natural intelligence they are talking about? The natural intelligence basically refers to the inherent ability to think, to reason out, to understand on their own without external guidance or influence. So in this context, it suggests that these boys were able to deeply contemplate Narada Muni's words, and they derive meaning from them using their own inherent intellectual capacity. That's why it is said natural intelligence. Natural intelligence means they were referring to their inherent ability to think and to reason out, to understand on their own. So basically, it shows their ability to process complex ideas independently. So in essence, like what we can think is, here it is describing how Haryashvas, upon hearing Narada's words, contemplated and then used their own intelligence, reflecting their thoughtful and their introspective nature, understood what he was saying in a best way possible. Number 11. Bhukshetram jiva samnyam yad anadi nijabandhanam adrishtva tasya nirvanam kimasat karma bhir bhavet. Again, Bhukshetram jiva samnyam yad anadi nijabandhanam adrishtva tasya nirvanam kimasat karma bhir bhavet. Translation. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of Narada's words as follows. The word bhu, the earth, refers to the field of activities. The material body, which is a result of the living being's actions, is his field of activities, and it gives him false designations. Since time immemorial, he has received various types of material bodies, which are the roots of bondage to the material world. If one foolishly engages in temporary fruitive activities and does not look toward the cessation of this bondage, what will be the benefit of his actions? So here, the Haryashvas understood the meaning of Narada's words So after contemplating Narada's teachings, they understood the word Bhu means he is referring to earth, the field of activities. Here, Bhu is symbolizing the field of activities where one performs actions. And the material body is a result of living beings' actions. Is his field of activities, and it gives him false designations. Or the false designation is the body, which is a product of past actions, which is karma. And it serves as the field where one engages in various activities. This body also gives one false identities on labels also. So, and since time immemorial, he has received various types of these material bodies, which are the roots of bondage to the material world. So, throughout countless lifetimes, the living entity has received different bodies, each contributing to the cycle of bondage in the material world. Why? Because the more the person takes association from this material world, the more he creates karma, the more he has misconceptions, the more he starts thinking or attaching himself towards the material concept of life. So if one foolishly engages in temporary fruitive activities and does not look toward stopping or cessation of this kind of life, or this kind of bondage, so what will be the benefit of these actions? So if someone engages only in these kind of activities without seeking the quest, or without even understanding or questioning and understanding what is the end, where is the end for this cycle of birth and death, then what is the real benefit it will doing all these things? So basically it's we get this human life. The only purpose of human life is to understand that I'm the part and parcel of the Lord and my job is to serve him. If we do not understand this point, the only purpose of we got the life is this is like main academics when we join in the school. And all the other duties which are given to us are like extracurricular activities. And however good we are in extracurricular activities, if we lack in our academics, definitely we will not be passed to the next grade, right? If we, basically, it's a fail. The degree is a fail. So that's what this means. Like we are taking so much interest in all the extracurricular activities. Very good. I'm very nice in cricket or this game, that game, very nice. But if I don't get a passing grade, I'm a failure. So that's what, if someone engages only in these material activities, thinking this is everything, and without understanding why we are given this human body, or without seeking liberation from this cycle of birth and death, then the real benefit of taking the human birth is lost, and all those actions are of no use. So this verse is basically talking about the importance of understanding the temporary nature of material existence and necessity of understanding what is in real our eternal relationship with the Lord, and what is that we are actually are. Do we belong here, or why it is not conducive here? Reason is because we don't belong here. We are in understanding that. So it emphasizes the need for spiritual realization and enlightenment. That's what is the takeaway point from this verse. Number 12. एक एवेश्वरस्तूर्यो भगवान् स्वाश्रयपरा तम् अदृष्टवा भवं पुंसा किमसत् कर्मभिर्भवेत्. Again, एक एवेश्वरस्तुर्यो भगवान् श्वाश्रयपरा तम् अदृष्टवा भवं पुंसा किमसत् कर्मभिर्भवेत्. Translation goes, Narada Muni had said that there is a kingdom where there is only one male. The Haryashvas realized the purport of this statement. The only enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who observes everything, everywhere. He is full of 6 opulences and fully independent of everyone else. He is never subject to the 3 modes of material nature, for he is always transcendental to this material creation. If the members of the human society do not understand him, the Supreme, through their advancement in knowledge and activities, but simply work very hard, like cats and dogs, all day and night for temporary happiness, then what will be the benefit of their activities? So 12th one. Narada Muni had mentioned a kingdom where there is only one king with no competitor. And this refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. and he's a sole enjoyer without any rival. So they only enjoy the Supreme Personality of Godhead who observes everything everywhere. And the Supreme Lord is the ultimate enjoyer who oversees all the activities and exists everywhere. And he is full of six opulences and is fully independent of everyone else. So Supreme Lord actually possesses six transcendental opulences, right? The wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, and is completely independent of anyone else. He is never subject to the three modes of material nature. The reason is because he is always above the three. He is not even sattva, rajas, tamas. He is a shuddha sattva, beyond pure goodness. For he is always transcendental to this material creation. So, unlike beings in this material world, Supreme Lord is beyond the influence of three modes of material nature. He is always transcendental. If the members of human society do not understand him, the Supreme, through their advancement in knowledge and activities, but simply work very hard like cats and dogs all day and night for temporary happiness, what will be the benefit of their activities? So, Shamayeva hi kevalam. If it is not culminating in bhakti, if it is not creating devotion for the Lord, then what is the use? So basically, how we understand this is we are given this prarabdha, we go through the prarabdha, and we just because we are the devotees of the Lord, our prarabdha is not taken away. We have to go through our prarabdha. So what is this prarabdha? Prarabdha are the matured fruits which are actually giving us the result right now. So we cannot get rid of those. Of course, our prarabdha will go away by chanting. And the agami karma will go away, which is a future karma, by chanting and by devotional service. Because right now, whatever we are doing is akarma, which is not even karma. Akarma is anything we do in devotional service, keeping Krishna in the center. For that work, there will not be any reactions. But if Krishna is not in the center, there will be definitely reactions. So that is the reason why we are from time immemorial taking different bodies, transmigrating from one body to the another body, because we are creating these karmas. And that's why these karmas are dragging us from one body to another. So if we get rid of this, whatever aprarabdha karma, which is waiting to give result, that will be taken away by chanting and by devotion. And the future karma is also taken away. But the prarabdha, we have to go through. Because if prarabdha is over, life is over. So if the person is living, as long as prarabdha is there. So how we go through this prarabdha? Keeping Krishna in the center. Then what happens? When we give fire in the Krishna's hand, he is the one who decides when to give what. So that prarabdha is also planned by the Lord in such a way that at certain times we are given certain karma, because from each karma we go through, we come out with a clear understanding that my Lord has given me this difficulty and I have gone through it so easily because of his help. So every time, like, you see the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Non-devotee also go through his karmas. Devotees also go through. What is the difference? The difference is when the devotees go through, they understand, they see the hand of Krishna, and every prarabdha they come out, they go more closer to Krishna, because they know, they see that Krishna's hand is there. Krishna was existing in their life at every moment. This understanding is not there in the case of non-devotee. So this is how, in this material world, when we say him, we do not understand him. How we understand what is this knowledge helping us and how we plan out our activity is to connect with this Supreme Lord and understand that, we carry out all the things, whatever we do, we connect with that Lord, and then we understand that this is given by him. So therefore, this is for my good. When we understand that, and then we carry out the things. So this is the way how. So it encourages humans to seek a higher understanding beyond temporary pleasures. This knowledge is important because it teaches us that it is not going to remove difficulties from your life. Why? Because you've already committed these in our previous births. We have to carry it out. But how we do that? We take it, we boldly understand that I might have done something, that's why I'm going through this, and my Krishna is helping me. I might have got more because of my Krishna, I'm going through little. With this understanding, we take Krishna and then we go through them. And every prarabdha devotee goes through, he comes out and he becomes more closer to Krishna than before. So this is how. Otherwise, you see non-devotees, when they go through prarabdha, they actually blame the Lord because they cannot take it. They cannot understand what is going through them, why it is happening. So therefore, they take to different methods wherein they want to forget the reality and they go into the depression. Sometimes they commit suicide. Sometimes they take intoxications, and etc. etc. So many things are there. So therefore, they don't want to accept the reality. Here, we accept the reality because we know that we are getting finished or we are finishing this. So this is how we understand it. And this knowledge reminds us why Bhagavatam is important, because it reminds us that this is how your life is planned. Next, number 30. Pumannevaiti yadgatva bilasvargam gato yatha pratyagdhama vidahiha kimasat karma bhirbhavet. Again, puman naivaiti yadgatva bilasvargam gato yatha pratyagdhama vidahiha kimasat karma bhirbhavet. The translation goes, Nada Mahamuni has described that there is a bila, a hole, from which having entered, one does not return. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of this allegory. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary system called Patala been seen to return. Similarly, if one enters Vaikuntha Dhama, which is Pratyak Dhama, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which, having gone, one does not return to the miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profit? So, 13th verse. Narada Muni had described that there is a bila, or a hole, from which having entered, one does not return. So Narada Muni used the allegory to describe a place or state from which there is no return. Hardly once a person who has entered. So here, just as someone who enters the spiritual realm, Vaikuntha Dhama, does not return to the material world, if there is such a place from which having gone, one does not return to miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in that temporary place? So basically, if there is a place like that, and which our scriptures are saying there is one, like, when we say Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namah. So these kleshas or kuntas are removed in the place called Vaikuntha, right? So if there is a place like that, why don't you aspire for that place? Instead of aspiring for that place, or instead of inquiring how I go to that place and how even if I am here, if I live in a certain way, I can live like how I'm living in Vaikuntha because none of the difficulties will hurt me, then why wouldn't I take up that? Any intelligent person, if he is being told that, yes, you can get rid of your material miseries or the difficulties what you're going through right now. How? The things will not change. Only your way of how you deal with it will change. Just like the other day, I was hearing a lecture, a very nice example, where the road is full of all, ditches, what you call the holes or dug. So basically, when you go by walk, definitely it is very difficult. Or when you go in a normal vehicle, it is very difficult. But if you go in a vehicle which can take or which has a capacity to take this, certain like Mercedes Benz, some luxury cars which can take the what do you call is that shocks, so basically the springs or whatever. So you do not even feel that you are going in a bad road. So if there is a vehicle like that, definitely the road will not change. You need to change your vehicle in order to go in that. So basically difficulties will not change, but you need to find a way how you maneuver it by using your higher intelligence. So when you know how to maneuver it using your higher intelligence, then why not use it? So that's why he's saying, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? There is a place there, definitely. And not only going there, you will be happy. While here, you can create that place. That's what Prabhupada goes one more step ahead and says that you can create Vrindavan at your home. You can create Vaikuntha at your home. Just you need to add Lord in our home and plan our activities, keeping him in the center. Then it is like as if living there. Because there, when you like see devotee's house, it's always like filled with some devotional activity all the time. So it's not that they don't have problems. It is not that they in their body, in their family, nothing is happening. Definitely so much is might be happening, or definitely it happens, because material world is ashashvatam dukkhalayam. So everyone have to undergo these problems. But because they understand, they're intelligent enough to understand that yes, if we either achieve that place which is Vaikuntha, or create the place which is Vaikuntha, then definitely we don't have to go through the difficulties like others. So that's why he's saying, this allegory is trying to make us understand, definitely not only for them, it is for us also, which is making us understand that, yes, the purpose of engaging in meaningless activities in this material world is useless. If there is a higher permanent abode where one can go and free from the cycle of birth and death, then why wouldn't opt for that? Right? That's why this verse is emphasizing the futility of engaging solely in material world, in materialistic pursuits, without understanding the opportunity for spiritual liberation. Basically, it encourages seeking a higher purpose beyond temporary pleasures. So that's why this is a very important verse which makes everyone, whoever is living in this temporary material world, and understand it as is. Because yes, there is a place called Vaikuntha Dama where one who enters the spiritual realm does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which, having gone, no one returns to this miserable material condition of life, then what is the use of unnecessarily taking this world so seriously and opting for temporary material reliefs here, which is not going to help. Next, last one, 14th. नानारूपात्मनो बुद्धि स्वरीरीन् वा गुणान्विता तान्निष्ठम् अगत्स्येह किमसत् कर्मभिर्भवेत्. Again, नानारूपात्मनो बुद्धि स्वैरीणी वा गुणान्विता तान्निष्ठाम् अगत्स्येह किमसत् कर्मभिर्भवेत्. The translation goes, Narada Muni, who had described a woman who was professional prostitute. The higher Shvas understood the identity of this woman. Mixed with the mode of passion, the unsteady intelligence of every living entity is like a prostitute who changes dresses just to attract one's attention. If one fully engages in temporary fruitive activities, not understanding how this is taking place, what does he actually gain? Here, of course, the purport, Prabhupada is explaining a woman who has no husband declares herself independent, which means that she becomes a prostitute. A prostitute generally dresses herself in various fashions intent to attract a man's attention to towards her. So today it has become definitely so many advertisements we see, women are they are very becoming very fallen and then almost half naked. So therefore, in order to draw the attention of a man towards her, these kind of activities are done. So here, the intelligence, basically, why is this compared with the intelligence of a person engaged to attract this material things towards him is compared to this prostitute. So similarly, the intelligence of living entity who does not turn his attention towards Krishna or Krishna conscious movement, rather benefits from foolish intelligence, understanding this world is everything, and running after them. Therefore, that kind of intelligence is actually compared here with the prostitute who changes her dresses. And so therefore one should intelligently, consciously live in such a way that he need not no longer change from one body to another, just like how changing dresses you don't have to do. So here the karmis change their professions at any moment, but Krishna conscious person does not change his profession, for he is always attracted to the attention of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and living a very simple life without too much of commotion in the life. So in our Krishna conscious movement, of course, we are taught like how to dress like a Vaishnava and how to live in a simple life, and taught always to be clean in mind and wear clean dress, eating in a sattvic food, and keeping the house in a Krishna conscious conducive way. Then therefore, if we do such things, then what is the use of changing one's dress? Sometimes wearing we see so many, I mean, we see different kinds of people around, we see their mentalities, and definitely when we read this, we can very easily connect, because day in day out we meet such people. And therefore, reading all these scriptures and then taking these instructions do help us understand, because otherwise, why these teachings are important is when we actually learn this, then we will know when we go out and see this, so much of commotion is going on, where people are they are what you call as in one way, wearing suits, boots, whatever, different ways. If we don't understand this, we might also start thinking that what kind of life I am living, I'm so simple and people don't even respect me. So you look at them, they are wearing suits and they are living in a aristocratic way. But then Bhagavatam is definitely teaching us that all the way, like whatever we see around us is nothing but simply bogus, because in the end it doesn't even matter. So what is the use of all this? This is not good, and one should not waste his time in such activities. One should always be fixed in Krishna consciousness and take care of the devotional service with firm determination and understand the things as is. So finally, we learn many lessons about how to behave, how not to behave, how to understand, and how to follow the instructions of the great Acharyas, Vaishnavas. Only by doing this, we can escape from this material world, which is like a mysterious jail with no walls. But then if we don't do that, then we are like those honeybees, which the flies, in fact, which are stuck in the honey and like the taste of the honey, at the same time cannot get out because its wings are stuck in the honey. So we should not be one like that. Rather, we should understand the things as is and escape from here in a way, like how our acharyas are teaching us. So this is the story about Narada's allegory and the Haryashvas renunciation. So I will actually stop the class here, and if anyone has any questions or comments or any points to add, and if I have not, if you have more insight to what I've explained, definitely you can add to the things. Please go ahead, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for a wonderful class. It was such a nice flow of Bhagavatam,
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, you've also brushed up with the previous shlokas. It's very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. We will be fortunate if you join and give us Bhagavad Gita more and more.
Definitely, Mataji. I am so thankful to you for giving me the opportunity, because talking about Srimad Bhagavatam is a privilege, and especially I can get the association of all of you. You all are like so great advanced devotees. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, you can ask any questions, Mataji.
Mataji, yes, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for the nice session, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Most of them have their Bhagavata, they have their Bhakti courses, Mataji. Saturdays when we have a lot of people.
Okay,
Others
no
and
problem.
they have their Bhakti Vrikshas today in the morning.
Yeah, no problem, Mataji. No problem.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dandavat.
No problem.
Thanks everyone for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. I will take leave. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you.